Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome everybody to the show. We've had a little bit of a drama because Chrism for some reason has not been able to log in as the host. So I have done that and I am speaking with him in the chat room, and he is now hopefully going to phone into the show. So a little bit of time has left, has passed. So I hope we still have listeners. We have some in the chat room. So I want to say hello to guest 1098, to Mary Jean, to Phil Karuba, to Vincent, and to C.L. Morgan. Hi, everybody. You're very welcome. Can you all hear me there in the chat room? And I will hold this for a little while, and hopefully Chrism will phone in on the regular phone. So I suppose for a change, what the first thing I will do is I will give out the number that, or at least the website that people can go to if they would like to make a donation and support the work that Chrism does on Kundalini Awakening systems. The website is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and in the upper right hand corner you will see the donate button, and it's really easy to make a donation. Just click that and follow instructions. There are other ways that a person can make a donation. You can send a donation via Western Union. You can send a donation via a bank account, and for information on that you can email me on kundalinimatters@gmail.com. So really, I would like all the listeners to know, I mean, most of you know anyway, that Chrism doesn't charge for any. He gives his teachings free, and so he lives on a donation basis. And for that reason, every week I give out this number because people do write and ask how they can support him in the work that he does. So thank you, everybody. You actually don't have to make a donation, as you all know. There's absolutely no pressure for anybody to do that. But if you do, this is where you go, www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. And so before we continue and wait for Chrism to phone in, can I just ask Phil or Vincent or somebody in the guest room, in the chat room, to please type in if I am being heard. Thank you very much, guys, and I will wait for that. I am not seeing anybody typing, so I'm having a bit of a no, and people are logging in and logging out and logging in and logging out, so I have no idea if we're on the air. Again, I'm going to just type a message here to Chrism. Chrism, I am on air. Please phone in using your phone. Okay, guys, so what the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the phones here, and I'm going to speak with Rosemary, and I'm going to ask her about the seminar that is coming up in Minnesota in July. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi there, Amelia, and hi, Chrism, too, if you can hear us. Thank you. Yes, indeed. And I was looking at the calendar. It's a month from tomorrow, July 9th and 10th, and it is on in Cannon Falls on it's really a farm, was a farm, but it is a prairie. And it has been, some of it has been forever prairie, some is restored.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello,
okay, I'm putting you back in blue, Rose.
Okay.
Are you okay, hon?
That's fine.
Oh boy, what a
Chrism.
hassle! Oh my God!
Okay.
I'll probably get bumped off too.
Okay, but you're here now, so I've made the donation announcement, and Rosemary hasn't. Do you need a few minutes, or can you just go straight into it?
I'm just going to go straight into
it. I even owned.
What?
I even owned at the beginning.
Oh, thank you.
I'm saying
Thank you.
I even
Good,
did
good,
an
good.
own. Yeah.
Yes, I heard you. Okay. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
The weird thing is, everybody, is that I'm in the studio, and I have control over who is talking and whatnot, but I'm not there. I'm here, but I'm not here. There, but not there. I'd like to welcome everybody, and I want to thank Santara and all of you for your patience with Blog Talk Radio. I don't even have the Skype button to try to Skype in, so I'm calling on my cell phone, and I would like to thank Josephine for providing that cell phone. So what a trip this has been. Well, I see we have many guests here, and we have Mary Jean, Phil, Vincent, and C.L. Morgan. I want to go ahead and ask you, Vincent, to call in. If you haven't already done so, Vincent, call in and let me know that you're doing that, Vincent91, by writing something, because I'll see that you're typing. And you're not typing, so either I'm not being heard. Can anybody hear me in the chat group? Can somebody write in the chat group?
He's typing now, Chrism.
I see. It's just like, what is it, just like super slow today or what?
I don't know. I asked people could they hear me and nobody responded. I can see people are being logged in and logged out continuously. So, that seems to be an issue today.
Wow. Okay. Well, everybody, my name is Chrism, and if you haven't listened to our show before, typically we start off with an OM, and it says Blog Talk Radio, and their little, thing, and then I'm able to start the show, and today I just wasn't even able to log in to Skype in order to be able to Blog Talk live with you like you all are. So I'm calling in as a guest call-in number. And if there's anybody else that would like to call in as a guest, the number is area code 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. So there you have it. And we will go ahead and begin. And anytime Vincent wants to call in, because I want to do a bit of a review. Let's see. Oh, yeah, C.L. Morgan is writing that he had to log in 3 times to get Blog Talk to work. I think Blog Talk is just falling apart today. And I want to apologize to those of you who are listening in the archives, those of you who are in the chat room right now, and those of you who are listening on your phones or your computers, and if you keep getting kicked off and the whole bit, I on behalf of Amelia and I, we'd like to apologize to you for that, even though we really have very limited control over that. So there we have it. Still waiting for Vincent to call in. I guess that's going to take some time for him. Let's see. Just going to go right into the Kundalini stream. Okay. With regards to how do you do certain things within the Kundalini, I get questioned by this, by people that are having difficulty changing from the mundane life into the exalted life. How does a person become semi-divine? What is semi-divinity? Well, in the context that I'm using semi-divinity right now, it is half mundane and half divine. That is, I think, a fairly clear definition of what semi-divine means. And why? Why wouldn't the Kundalini just take you all the way into divinity? Why wouldn't that occur? Well, it's because you still have things to do. You're not being activated with Kundalini inside of a world full of sleeping people inside of a world full of mundane people without a very, very strong purpose for you. And I think that's very important for you to understand, is that you are in the process of becoming semi-divine. It doesn't mean that, you're going to all of a sudden just fly off into the clouds. Oh, boy. So Vincent is texting. He says, well, my Skype doesn't allow me to call in. So there you have it. I just want everybody to know that I did contact Vincent since last time. I think it was night before last. And what he was doing, he was confusing. Well, first of all, he has an entity attachment. And second of all, he has Kundalini. And the entity attachment, oh, here we are. Vincent looks like he might be here. Are you here, Vincent?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Can everybody hear that? Yeah, right. I'm hearing you on my phone. It's kind of confusing for me to hear stuff on the phone. Amelia, are you hearing this?
Yes, Chrism, very clearly.
Okay, and could you type and ask the chat group if they're hearing that as well?
Yes,
Vincent.
I will. I just go ahead with Vincent.
Thank you. Vincent, are you still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm here.
Can you describe people the phone call and what transpired?
What? The phone call?
Yeah, did I not call you on the phone or Skype with you?
Oh, yeah, you Skyped with me. Yeah, well, it's like you've asked me. I cannot remember.
I know
much.
It's like 3 a.m. there, right?
It's now to midnight, but I know so much that you have you Skype with me. You asked me questions about what's happening. You saw the movement I did. Well, but you saw while I was resisting the movements that were still possible. You said those were kriyas, but then you said you took a look at my energetic anatomy as far as I could tell, and you heated something up, right?
Right.
In fact, just a couple of minutes ago, I could feel that heat again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm always fascinated with how much people remember of the conversations I have with them, and you're doing quite well, Vincent.
Well, yeah.
So
I mean, I'm implementing. For instance, I'm implementing the things you said. As far, a lot. Like, for instance, I'm having trouble with the look up in the crown chakra. I did it twice, I guess. Today not. I know that I didn't do it today. That's as far as I can remember. I also can remember that you asked me to ground, and I can remember that you asked me to allow the Kundalini kriyas.
Right.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure those short neck movements are kriyas? How do you know that?
I've seen them with lots of other people. I had them myself.
Okay, that is true. But did the Kundalini say to you, okay, these movements are kriyas? Because there is a lot of things.
Do you
there?
Are you getting? Are you having confusion about whether? I mean, you're asking me, did Kundalini come to me and dressed in her very best business suit, sit down in front of me, fold her hands across from me on the table, and say, "Well, Chrism, this is exactly what is occurring, and this is exactly what I want you to tell Vincent." And there he is. Is that what you're asking me?
I thought that the Kundalini tells you what's going on. Yeah,
You have an entity and you have Kundalini.
Yes.
One is confusing you with the other.
Yes.
So what you need to do is you need to look up all the possible phenomena that you're having as far as shaking the head into the other kriyas that you might be having and match it up with the Kundalini and allow that to occur. Anything that is outside of that, you don't allow to occur.
I think, here's what I think. I think the neck movements are a Kundalini Kriya. That's what I think. I know that. The thing is, I think the entity is also faking it with the control he has. So in order for me to allow it to do that, because I have had those neck movements now for over a year. I have had at first really slow neck movements, slow and consistent, and I could ask, for example, I was already communicating with the entity back then, and I didn't know that. I can ask, can you do the other way around? So then he changed the direction he moved me in, for instance. Or when he starts threatening me, for instance, when I used to let go of the resistance, when I went to the toilet, he said no, and shake my head really fast. And each time he did that more intensely, the communication, it's weird. I know that those are that this is supposed to be a clear, but I've had other spastics, body spasms, and those feel completely different than this one. This feels like there is someone with an intention moving the head, and other body movements I've had like short spastic muscle spasms doesn't feel like that. It feels different. I'm not so sure.
Okay, all right. Well,
I've thought about it long and hard. I've thought about this. I want to allow the Kundalini, but those movements, also, they're non-stop every second. For now, more intensely, but also back then, if I allowed it to occur, it was weird. One day only kriyas, only those movements. Only neck movements.
Okay, all right. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I have bought a picture that you asked me to put next to my nightstand. I hope it's coming. But I'm actually quite disappointed of how little I can remember.
Okay, all right. All right. The head shaking is definitely a Kundalini Kriya. I've been working with you for a little bit, and I've tried different things with you. The Kundalini does not necessarily come to me, sit across from me on the table, cross your hands, and say, well, okay, tell him exactly this. This is not what occurs to me. Okay, it's a blending, and I'm given very specific things to say to you and to do with you. And whether or not that is the appropriate thing in your mind, it doesn't really enter into it, because you're the one that is already having a difficulty with this. And so you're having a difficulty based upon a lack of information. And that lack of information is causing you to do specific things. And all I'm trying to do is to help you and assist you, but I'm not necessarily really interested in being tested by you for the efficacy or the accuracy of the communication with myself and my Kundalini.
Well, I'm
now, in other words,
do that.
I don't need to really question my Kundalini and say, well, is that really true?
No. That is not what I was intending. But you have to understand me if I have some trouble with those specific areas. When I was completely naive and it started all, I thought that those are clear. Only the Kundalini can move me. It's it's fear, I guess.
Okay. So, with regard to the entity that I saw attached to your first chakra and the Kundalini, which I do see is activated within you, all you have to do is to match up the Kundalini Kriyas that you have and the additional Kundalini phenomena that you have, and attribute that to the Kundalini, because you do have it. And then anything outside of that, anything of a corrupting nature or fear-based model or any kind of a corruption, you just want to ignore. Don't act on it, and don't let it act itself out upon you. And you do that by resisting it. So you can resist the entities, but you don't resist the Kundalini.
Okay.
For the audience, I asked Vincent to get a picture of myself, the one that I use on the Facebook, and what I have found occurs with other people is that if you stare into those eyes, the Kundalini eyes, positive results will typically happen with regards to stability, grounding, balancing, fear control, and not succumbing into any of the corruptions that are being offered. Jeez Louise, I'm having such a hard time with the computers today. Wow. Okay, Vincent, thank you for taking the time to call in.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Okay. So with that, carrying on Vincent's subject, it's common for people to have an entity attachment within the first activation months or even years of their Kundalini. Common to have that. And it can be first of all, it can be really disturbing. It can change your reality and all of that. Totally without control here. You just don't want to succumb to fear. Fear is not going to help any part of it. Matter of fact, fear just feeds into what the ego's or the entity corruption is for the individual. And so you have to do your homework. You have to start matching up Kundalini phenomena, and there's plenty of examples of Kundalini phenomena on the web. Shaking your head extremely fast, very, very rapid, from side to side while standing on your hands, being on your hands and knees is a fairly common, not unheard of phenomena that the Kundalini will bring to a person. But the person having it, if they haven't looked that up, if they haven't done their homework, well, it's going to surprise them in a very, very perhaps negative way. And I think that may have happened with Vincent. And so you do have to do what in the States we call due diligence, which means that you must diligently educate yourself and do the work to educate yourself, to allow yourself to be able to come into greater levels of knowledge and, to match the greater levels of experience that is being forced upon a person. You have to seek. This word, I think it's in the Bible, it says, seek and ye shall find. Well, you've got to seek. S-E-E-K, not S-I-K-H. You've got to seek it out. You've got to seek the knowledge. And once you have the knowledge, you need to implement the knowledge. You need to implement the knowledge. And I'm going to move on over here right now to Elizabeth, because Elizabeth and Loranya might have something to say about this. Here we are. Hopefully it works. Are you there, Elizabeth?
I'm here. Hello, Chrism.
Oh, my God. What a mess.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. My phone is working fine, and thank God for that. Do you have anything to add, my dear?
Gosh, no, not on this. I'm just I just walked in the door and no, not yet.
Okay, no worries, my dear. I'm going to put you in the blue here.
Okay.
So it can be very, 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 very disturbing to be sitting on the toilet and all of a sudden have your head violently shake from side to side. I mean, so fast that your face becomes a blur. It's so fast that I'm not even sure you could do it consciously like that. I mean, I can shake my head from side to side with the best of them, but geez, you know, when I've seen that occur, when it happened to me, it shook so fast that because I wasn't, you know, outside of myself, looking at myself, it was just, you know, it seemed natural and normal to me, and I didn't get a big fear from it. But I've seen it happen with other people that I've been assisting within the Kundalini, and it's very, very, very normal, and it doesn't damage you. The Kundalini Kriyas will not damage you unless you resist them. If you resist them, then yeah, there's a possibility for damage. But if you don't resist them, it won't damage you at all. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today was about illnesses and what illnesses the Kundalini can cure. And I want anybody in the chat room right there to write about write out about a specific disease. Scoliosis of the spine can be healed in one session, one day. It can be healed. That spine, you can literally see the spine being stretched and straightened into a natural S curve rather than, say, a contorted Z curve. You can imagine that. So any kind of illness that a person can contract, and none of them are really going to be accidental. Any kind of an illness that a person can contract can be healed and helped in the Kundalini. Okay, it may not be healed completely because there may be some karmic residue that a person needs to clear up within their equation, and that karmic residue is going to demand that they have that illness, and that illness, you know, that comes up with them gives them a specific frequency of pain, specific frequency of irritation, specific frequency of physiological, emotional, mental response, and within those responses is where the karmic redemption is going to occur. Okay, so that if there's anybody out there that has a condition, I don't care if you're paralyzed, I don't care if you're quadriplegic or paraplegic or any of the plegics, call in and ask your question. The call-in number, once again, is 347-934-0026 to call in about this. This is important to many, many people that have illnesses. If you have a family member that has illness, there is nothing that the Kundalini cannot cure. But not everything will it cure, because definitely karmic insinuation is there within the equation. There is karma that has to be paid. Nobody likes to hear that. Nobody likes to hear that, oh my gosh, well, that's your karma. And it's like that's kind of like a death sentence to people. Oh, it's your karma. Well, that's not really going to be helpful to anybody, because what they're looking for is a cure. Not everything should be cured. People need to be able to work through their karma on this world, and that is one of the main reasons why people are on this world, is to work through karma and work through refinement opportunities that present themselves copiously on this planet. So I'm going to go over here to our other hostess here. Hi, are you still there? Is this you? Hello?
I'm still here, Chrism, yes. Okay. Hi. Can you hear me?
Oh, wow. I can hear you on the phone.
Are you hearing me?
The computer. Yes.
Okay, then.
Are you hearing me back?
Yeah.
All right, good.
I am. You're coming across here.
Yeah, but there's a lag time. Okay, so just know that. Have you, when you're doing the KITT, Kundalini Infused Therapeutic Touch, you have been working with cancer patients. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. I've been doing that now for nearly 6 years. Yes.
Six years. So have you seen any? Yeah. So there's definitely a lag time, so I want you to wait before you respond, okay? I'm going to have to.
Okay.
Have you seen any kind of a curative effect that the Kundalini, when you give the KITT, have you seen any curative effect from that?
Well, curative as in, there's a difference, to me anyway, between cure and healing. Cure meaning the illness is no longer present, and healing meaning the illness could be present, but healing has occurred on different levels. So nobody has been cured of their cancer that I am aware of, but I have definitely seen healings occur during the sessions, Chrism. And this can happen for a person in many ways. It has happened to people emotionally that have been extremely traumatized by their diagnosis and have been going through a really difficult time. And they come for a session and they definitely have received healing. And that happens regularly.
Very good, very good, very good. A lot of people need to understand that cancer is often a karmic condition that a person acquires at a specific age in life, at a specific time in their existence on this world, and that it is not so much the cancer, but a breakdown of the immune system. Kundalini can be very, very, very helpful for the immune system. It can make the immune system very, very, very strong. And so when Amelia Santara says, oh, yeah, there's a difference between curing and healing, I totally agree with what she is saying. And yet it's the Kundalini that can bolster the immune system. So it won't necessarily get rid of the cancer. Everybody's got cancer floating around in their bloodstream. Everybody's got that, but their immune systems keep it at bay. When the Kundalini comes into that equation, it really bolsters, improves, and strengthens the immune system. And so the cancers will still be there, but they may drop in their number. And I think they're measuring that by the amount of leukocytes that appear in the bloodstream. I'm not sure. But the Kundalini can bring about specific levels of healing along the lines that you suggest, Amelia. I think it's really, really good that you made the distinction between healing and curing, because we are non-medical personnel here. We can't apply Kundalini in a medical setting, which I wouldn't want to do anyway. But we can apply the Kundalini to a medical condition, either on ourselves or on another person, and that Kundalini can definitely help. I mean, people get help this way. You have to kind of stretch yourself. Yes?
I can give you an example of a cure that occurred in a different context, and it was a cure. A niece had extremely itchy, sore, red eye infection, and it had been going on for a few days, and she was just on the point of going to the doctor when my Kundalini just suggested to me to ask her, did she want a healing from the Kundalini? And she's very aware of the Kundalini Awakening. So I asked her, did she want to? And she said yes. And we spoke a little bit about it, and she gave full permission. And the healing that was given, within 30 minutes, her eyes were completely healed, completely cured. The redness was gone, the itching was gone. She actually left the room after I gave the healing, and she told me that she had felt something, and I spoke to her, and I said to her, this isn't me, this is the Kundalini. And she went down to her room and came up 30 minutes later. Perfect, Chrism. I mean, it's the only, it was amazing. That happened 2 years ago.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. And And you can do this with animals too. You can do this with pets. You can do this with plants. You can do this with anything that is living and alive, because Kundalini is the source of that life upon this world. So, well, I just want to congratulate you, Amelia, and thank you. Thank you for the example of the cure too. Although cure, I'm not sure I would qualify that as a cure until I could make sure that it didn't ever return. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it didn't.
Good.
It didn't.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to put you in the blue. Thank you for that, Amelia.
Okay.
So now I think I have covered this in another program a few years back, but I did want to just kind of touch on it again, because it's a very important subject for people that are ill. You have a parent that is ill, or a brother or sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, daughter, son. You can ask the Kundalini to give them a healing, but you are not to initiate a healing out of your own fears or wants or desires. And so you really need to learn how to separate yourself from those fears, wants, and desires to allow the Kundalini to do it itself. And so you basically take yourself out of the whole equation. And just as Amelia mentioned, this is not Amelia. This is the Kundalini that is within Amelia. And I would suggest that you all look at that in the same way. It is not you. It is the Kundalini within you. And you definitely make that agreement with the Kundalini to give that level of healing to the individual. And so you stand there and you participate as much as the Kundalini within you wants that to occur. All right. So now I'm going to bring it on over to Elizabeth, and we'll see if there is any other subject that Elizabeth or Laranya wishes to talk about. Hi, Elizabeth. Are you there?
Hi. Yeah, I wanted to really quickly just touch on what you guys are talking about right now, that Laranya has shown me that when I don't need to initiate the healing most of the time with her, because she's in control, but she knows when someone needs something, and I often won't even know that I'm giving a healing or that I'm doing anything, or I'll be around my parents who both have chronic diseases, and they'll just, all of a sudden they'll say to me, oh, I'm so glad you came over. You just make me feel safe, or you make me, when you're in the room, I suddenly just feel more positive. I feel better. And I'm not even aware of the fact that I was really doing anything. So she's kind of shown me that I just need to go where I go, and she does what she needs when it's necessary. And people will ask me, can you do a healing, or can you put your hands on this spot, or I'm having this problem. It kind of cues me then to know that she's initiating that. It's really coming from my Kundalini, and then I'll go ahead and do that. But my mom has a chronic Addison's disease, which is literally the absence of any immune system. She has no immune system. And so I've moved them recently. She's been through a lot of stress. Any kind of stress makes her very ill. And I was just around her, just sitting with her in her room. And as I left a couple hours later, she just grabbed my hands and she just thanked me. And she literally said, whenever you're around me, I just suddenly feel better. And so I love that, because I know it's Aranya, I know it's the Kundalini doing whatever is necessary for that person, whether it's making them feel, it may not be a cure for Addison's disease, but for that moment, or for what she needs at that time, it gives her that bit of strength that she needs to get by, So I just wanted to add that.
Yes. No, I think that's very appropriate, because as we have discussed on other programs, you don't need to do anything but just stand there, really.
Yeah.
You just stand there or sit there. I mean, I would, when I was working in the hospitals, I would just go into the patient's room, and my friend Charles, he owns a company that goes in and does electronic work on the nurse call stations or the televisions or any of those types of things. And I just go in to check on some equipment in a patient room, and just standing there could provide the improvement that patient would need. And it didn't matter whether it was in the ER or on the nursing floor or any of the areas where they don't allow people to go. I mean, that Kundalini doesn't care. I mean, what I would typically do, I would just walk down the halls and just let the Kundalini, or just provide the opportunity, I should say, for the Kundalini in me to provide healings for people in the hospital, in the ward. And so, yeah. I like what you just said about that, and what Laranya has told you. Now, did you have other things that you wanted to cover?
Well, one thing today that she suddenly brought to my attention as I was going to work, and then, when I'm driving, and then when I got there, she wanted me to understand that I need to give the same level of love and kindness and nurturing that I give other people, and the same levels of healing that I give to other people, whether it's her. Obviously, I'm not in control, but she's telling me I need to do that for myself, that I don't nurture myself enough, that I don't ask for healing for myself, that I don't. And so she just wanted to bring to my attention that as Kundalini people, we absolutely need to do that. We need to love ourselves, and we talk a lot about forgiving ourselves and forgiving others when we're doing the safeties, but she just wanted to stress and include in that self-love and nurturing and caring for yourself in the same way that you do for other people. And she was bringing to my attention that I don't do that, and that I don't do that enough. And so that was kind of my lesson for the day.
I'm going to suggest a little more involved with say you or myself or anybody that has the Kundalini, because the Kundalini is already in you, and it knows what maladies that you have. It knows what illnesses or diseases that you have. And by giving yourself more love, you're not necessarily just, patting yourself on the back or giving yourself a massage or some sort of a spa treatment. It may mean that you have to go on a fast. It may mean that you have to start exercising a lot more. It may mean that you have to do certain specific things that perhaps you're not doing, that indicates a level of respect and a level of self-control, self-discipline, and self-love for yourself that builds, in partnership with the Kundalini, a very, very helpful Elizabeth or Chrism or anybody.
Yeah.
What I'm going to suggest. I know that when we went down to Peru, we all went on this big, huge fast, right?
Yeah.
And basically all you could eat is water and quinoa. You can't even bring apples into Peru because they take them away at the airport. So, like right now, I'm right in the middle of another fast, kind of based along the same thing for myself, to address, specific immunological issues within myself. And my Kundalini, I think, is very, very, very supportive of this. And, when I say I think my Kundalini is very, very supportive of this, other people are going, oh, well, then you don't really know. You don't really know, because the Kundalini didn't tell you in very unspecific terms or non-specific terms that you are this or you are that, or you should do this or you should do that. And with Laranya, you have that direct communication that they're looking for. Is that right, Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, I don't have that type of a verbal connection Mine's more telepathic. It's more just the thoughts immediately show up there. Okay, and I don't have to hear her voice. I don't have to. She doesn't have to use language. She typically uses emotions, feelings, and pictures.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have a voice, but it's definitely a flow of thoughts, ideas. But when you were just talking about the fasting, the nutrition thing, and the Peru diet we were on, I got like a bingo from her because I never felt better in my life than when we were on that diet. Even though I was wanting things, I never felt better. And I really think you're right. Like, I'm being pushed to go back to that. I felt so good.
I'm already in it. I am already in it, Elizabeth.
And
by
the way, the Cura thing, that when we came back, I have been thus far completely cured of my intestinal problems that I had prior for the last few years in my life, completely gone when we got back. They're still gone.
Oh, nice.
So maybe she's telling me I need to continue that if I want it to continue to be gone.
Well, let's bring Brooke into this conversation here because she was there as well. Hi, Brooke.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi. So are you feeling a curative effect from that fast as well?
Oh, yes. I was just listening to Elizabeth. I agree. I never felt better in my life. Even though I did have certain cravings and things, I felt so good. So good. Yeah, so everything felt better for me, generally. But I didn't really have any kind of illness or anything that I was working with specifically. So
Right.
just overall, yeah, of course. Anytime you do a strict diet like that, I think it's, beneficial.
Well, this diet is very, very, very strong for folks. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you. And I just want to say, Brooke, that I know I kind of call on you out of the blue, these times, and you never know if I'm going to call on you or not. I just want to say thank you for being available, for listening to the show, and for being, so accurately. I really feel your Shakti when you respond, and so I just want to say thank you for being present on the program. All right, putting you in the blue here, and Elizabeth, are you suggesting that your Kundalini wants you to go back on that fast?
Yeah, afraid so. For sure.
Yeah, I'm already there. I'm just a few days ahead of you, my dear.
Yep, it's time.
Yeah, I agree.
Quinoa is good.
Yeah, well, you get ready to live off of it.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to put you in the blue. Thank you, my dear.
Okay, thank you.
So let's go right to that. If you look at the Kundalini input about fasting, you can try everything to fix yourself and to try to find a healing for whatever malady that you have. But one thing within a Kundalini context I'm going to suggest to you is to do a fast. Try for a 3-day fast, but if you can go for 7 to 9 day fasting, that's very important. By fast, I mean specific foods, not starvation. This is not a starvation fast at all. You can have quinoa, you can have water. You can have quinoa, you can have water. You can have apples, you can have no citrus. If you're interested, go ahead and Google Dieta, D-I-E-T-A, and then ayahuasca. And then you'll be able to kind of see what we were preparing ourselves for before we went down to Peru. And so very, 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 very helpful to do a fast. And I'm going to bring it back up here to Rose, or not just in a second I'll be coming to Rosemary. Right now I want to come to Amelia. Amelia, did you feel a strong levels of energy and healthfulness from the fast for you?
Oh, I did, Chrism. I mean, it was amazing. It's exactly like Elizabeth said, and the two of you, Brooke and yourself as well. It was invigorating. It was, I felt really good on it. And I didn't have a huge amount of desire either for the other foods once I got into it. It was quite a while. I'm trying to remember, when did we start breaking it? I mean, it wasn't immediately. It was, I didn't really break it hugely until we got back. And even then I did. Anyway, I'm thinking out loud. It was amazing. I think a fast is wonderful for all kinds of reasons because, you know, we're so attached to the food we eat. Well, let me speak about myself. I can be so attached to the foods that I eat. I can eat unconsciously, just, you know, eating out of, you know, if I'm in pain, eating. I can use food as a way of substituting other things that I should be doing. It's almost like an ego thing sometimes. And so when I go on a fast, I find that it is a very good way as well to help me with other issues that are going on. It clears a lot of things for me. And so as well as feeling physically, you know, really good once you get into it, because there's detoxing as well. And that's the early stage when, you know, it's hard. It's the time, you know, when the headaches come and, you know, oh, you're feeling a bit nauseous and, you know, ego is there saying, why are you doing this? This is a waste of time. This isn't good for you anyway. Have some nice something else. And that whole dynamic of continuing on and, you know, sticking with what you have decided to do. That's really good because as it gets longer and as you get more into it, it just becomes better.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah. So you're doing it again, Chrism? Are you at the beginning stages where it's challenging, or how are you finding it?
No. Actually, you know, the weirdest thing for me is that my Kundalini kicks in and I just lose interest in food. I lose interest in food, and I kind of go with it, and you know, I'm getting positive results, and so I want to put that out there for people. And this is not in any way, shape, or form what I was planning on talking about with the show today. Not that I get a lot of plans to talk about the subject. She usually kicks it in. And I just want everybody listening to this program to realize that the Kundalini has determined that it is a fasting conversation that we're going to have today. I did need to touch base with Vincent to do a follow-up, but it seems like this conversation is really drifting into what it was to do the fast and how the fast affects you. And some people will do a fast once a month. The last 3 days of the month, they'll do a fast. And they say that it's very, very clarifying. It clears their mind. They feel their body is clear. They feel that they're strengthened with it. But just to make sure that after you finish the fast, that you put really, really good non-GMO organic food into your body. Again, you got to remember, a Kundalini activated or awakened person needs a very specific type of fuel to run that Kundalini engine. And that fuel is very clean, it's very pure, it's very natural, it's very unprocessed as possible. Okay. How do you feel about that, Santara?
I think it's important, Chrism, that it's not processed food. That it is organic, and what is it we say? Organic, breastfed. Because it's pure food for what we are becoming, which is pure. You know, a pure body, pure mind, and so why would we pollute it with anything that is, you know, that is contaminating to our physical body, because our bodies are temples. So, yeah, I mean, that makes absolute sense that we would.
This also ties into the whole semi-divinity thing that I brought up earlier. You don't feed divinity a diet that has been manipulated by ego. Now, I'm not talking about food preparation recipes or things of that nature. I'm talking more about, say, genetic modification. I'm talking about, say, more along the lines of commercialized farming techniques where they use a lot of herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, things that are there to kill, and that the United States government says, well, okay, this many parts per thousand or per million is fine. So I'm saying I'm suggesting that you get very, very natural food, foods that are conducive to your Kundalini and conducive to a healthy, natural, strong immune system body of light within a person. As natural and organic and less processed as possible is very, very, very important for people to have, after they finish their fast. But when you start looking into the semi-divine aspects, and Amelia, I'm going to put you in the blue here. When you get into the semi-divine aspects, you may not be able to eat anything else. And remember, with semi-divinity, there's a lot more going on than meets the unawakened or unactivated eye. Okay. Skills that a person can have with regards to bringing in energetic nutrition for themselves. And this has to do, I'm referring here to prana feeding. Prana feeding, which is basically taking in raw prana into the system. And I'm sorry, you've heard some doors opening and closing. I had my housemaid's been coming in and out, and so I think they're off to the corral. Anyway, so when you're feeding a divine aspect of yourself, such as prana feeding, or in some cases like qigong, would be another type of energetic nutrition that a person would feed their Kundalini with. And so if you look at any of the Qigong practices, you can do the Qigong practices, but don't buy into their ideologies. They don't understand Kundalini. They don't get it. They think it's just another form of Qi, because they buy in so strongly into their belief system that's, they pretty much attribute everything to Qi. And it's the same with the people that are so wrapped up into prana that, everything's just prana this, prana that, prana therapy, whatever. And so I want you to from a Kundalini perspective, to realize that you're feeding energy, you're feeding grace with these types of energetic nutritions. And it's very, very important. Now, how do you prana feed? You can go online and you can look up Qigong and doing the various Qigong movements, and that's fairly easy to learn. Prana feeding is a little different. Prana feeding, you go out at 3 a.m, and you're just walking across barefoot across a meadow. Now, if you can get out into the wilderness, out into nature, and prana feed in your natural clothing, shall we say, or if I can say that, your natural self. Every pore of your body can begin to bring in levels of energetic nutrition. And you can do this in conjunction with a fast as well. Now, of course, you need to listen to your Kundalini. You need to listen whether the Kundalini is saying, oh, yeah, go out there and do the prana feeding or do the Qigong, and you can have your quinoa and water in addition to that. And I would suggest that you do indeed pay very close attention to that. When you go out into nature and you're going to start prana feeding, you're going to start from the soles of your feet and from the palms of your hand. Your hands will be kind of stretched out, palm first towards the ground, and of course you'll be bare feet, and you'll begin to chakra breathe through the chakras in the bottoms of your feet and in the palms of your hand. And as you walk across that meadow and you breathe, you're breathing in the life force that is refreshed every day at around 3 o'clock a.m. You are not robbing the plant. You are not trying to take life force from a tree or from that type of, that's not what we're doing here. We're collecting the prana that comes to the earth at around 3 a.m. in the morning, and you're breathing that in. And some people are going to ask me, well, where does prana come from? And I'll just have to let your own Kundalini answer that one. The energetic diet is far more nutritious for the divine aspect of a semi-divine person than would be a lot of the physical-based foods, and as nutritious as they are. The energetic diet is really, really, really for that aspect of divinity that is emerging through you and from you, with your Kundalini. And so something, a little bit of food and energy for thought for everybody. And I'm going to come on over here to Rosemary right now, and I'm going to bring Rosemary on. And hello to you, Rosemary.
Hello, Chrism. Good afternoon.
And a good afternoon to you. And how did the fast affect you for positive or for negative in your trip to Peru, Rosemary?
My experience, thank you. I've been thinking about that. I've eaten quinoa before, not as regularly, but I had started eating before any of this showed up, these rice crackers, because I was steering away from things that I could feel the difference from them. But I am delighted to say what was touching for me was to be eating the food that was grown right where we were. It was grown, the tea was picked from the particular bush and it was all sustained right there, feeding us. That was that's wonderful.
That was wonderful. And that really, that underscores the importance of having your own garden and eating from that garden.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Are people able to have gardens in Minnesota?
I think so. They have community gardens. There are places where land's available, and every so often you'll see that, or people in apartments where there is some land around and they share that.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Farmers markets regularly.
Right. Well, I thought that because it gets so cold in Minnesota, I don't know what the growing season would be, there.
Well, Minnesota is feeding the world sometimes with also with those chemicals, but we have a lot of farms here that are growing a lot.
Well, good. Well, and thank you. Rosemary, do you have that announcement? The seminar?
I do. Thank you. And yes, thank you. It is a week from tomorrow. A month from tomorrow. Sorry. A month from tomorrow, July 9th and 10th, will be our seminar here in Minnesota in a beautiful prairie, and they have some gardens for themselves there. I'm not recalling that, but I'm sure they do. And you can camp if you like. It is on a prairie that's been completely restored. Some of it's been prairie forever, and it's near Cannon Falls, about 50 miles south and from the Twin Cities. And my information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com or 651-329-9615. And I'll be delighted to speak with you and share with you any questions that you have about this. And one thing I just want to say, too, I've said before, we created a special group rating for people 3 or more that is very powerful to think about. That means that makes a huge difference in our experience of Kundalini, having others in our life with that experience or our workplace or wherever. So that's available too. And Chrism will be here coming on Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we'll be speaking around the Twin Cities One
and
seems...
we'll be doing the show on Wednesday too, right?
Oh, yes. It won't be from the city here. I think that's one of the dates you'll be down in probably Mankato, and also in one in the cities on Friday. So still working on that.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
And I'm going to put you into the blue here, and I'm going to bring Joey up. Hello, Mrs. Frost. How are you?
Oh, I'm just fine. Just lovely, I think.
You are indeed. How did that fast affect you?
As you know, the height was difficult for me.
The altitude.
Difficult for me to breathe. So I really wasn't thinking.
9,000 feet. Yeah.
I wasn't thinking much about what I was eating or how it was affecting me. I was just trying to get from one place to another.
Well, I have to say, you did well with that. You did well.
Well, our gal did a beautiful job of using all the food that she had. She did bring in fruit, and that was a wonderful treat. But she really did a beautiful job of feeding that many people all the time.
True enough. And you came out of that, I mean, during some of your ayahuasca experience, you had the Kundalini Kriyas come to you, the shaking Kriyas, right?
Yes. In meditation, I usually have several.
even now it stays with
yes.
you?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Every time I get one, I get this big grin on my face, and I say, "Thank you, Shakti." Shiva.
Oh, nice. I wish everybody would remember to do that. That's great. All right, my dear. Thank you. And I think I've basically touched on everybody who had the fasting experience. Now, it's very, very, very important with Kundalini fasting that you're able to do a fast at all. So make sure that you check yourself out medically, so you're not getting yourself into trouble with regards to the fasting. And also make sure that your Kundalini, for those of you that are Kundalini active or awakened, that your Kundalini gives you that go ahead to do it. She may not print it out on paper in English for you or whatever language you speak, but you'll feel the rightness or the wrongness of it. Okay, it's very important for people to understand that, if you're hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic, you may want to look at different options with regarding a fast, and make sure you stay hydrated. These types of fasting, as I mentioned before, are not starvation fasts. They're very, very specific about what you can eat, what you cannot eat. Okay, and so I wanted to insert that in there anyway. And I'm going to come on over to our hostess, Her Holiness, the Emerald Gem of Ireland, Amelia. And I just want to say, folks, that Amelia is very, very. She writes a lot on many of the Facebook groups, and she is the one that is providing this venue with Blog Talk, and so I'm sure she's going to have a long talk with Blog Talk after this program. And I just want to say thank you to Amelia for providing all of that.
Oh, you're right. Hey. I know. It's a bad one.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway,
this has been such a cluster.
Yeah,
I don't even have.
Yeah.
You got lots of questions. Go ahead, my dear.
No. I got lots of comments into my inbox telling me that they couldn't log on and they couldn't, this sort of thing.
Oh.
So lots of people have experienced difficulty, Chrism. Yeah. So I'm going to. I'll inquire what happened, and we'll see. Okay.
Have you
can you
collected
answer
any
question in relation to? I do have some questions, but could you answer one in relation to the topic that you and Vincent were discussing, and that would be in relation to resisting. Is ignoring an entity the same as resisting an entity? Is that how you resist, or not?
Well, let's just say if the entity is causing you to stick your finger in your nose, right? We know that is not a Kundalini Kriya. Okay, in my in the years that I've had the Kundalini, researched the Kundalini, experienced the Kundalini, assisted people with Kundalini, not one time has putting your index finger inside your nostril, I mean way up there and digging around, that is not a Kriya. But an entity could have a person do that, could give the person to compel them to do that. And this is what you resist. You do not raise that hand. You do not let that finger enter the nostril in any way, shape, or form. You directly resist what that entity is trying to have you do. Now, when you're ignoring an entity, yes, that would be a kind of like a passive-aggressive type of resistance. Yeah, sure. I can see that. Can you see that?
Okay, so you would actually remove yourself, or you would do the opposite. Are you talking to me?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
Hello, I'm here. Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Let's no, I think... Okay, let's start again. Yes, Chrism, that makes sense. Thank you very much. I have a question. Let me move on to the questions. What is the significance of the golden triangle and its meaning when it comes in a vision?
Golden triangle, the significance of that would be it's one side of the pyramid. It's one of four. And the fact that it's gold, is an indication of illumination or, a level of enlightenment. And if it comes to a person during, did you say meditation?
In a vision, it said.
In a vision. In a vision, that is a calling to a person to begin to meditate, to get into the triangle pose, okay, and to really begin to put their fingers in position, put their eyes up, put their tongue tip behind the upper front teeth, and to really begin to go full forward into their enlightenment equation or their Kundalini equation, however the case may be.
Okay.
That's within the context of the vision.
I heard that, sorry, let me begin again. I heard there are negative entities or parasites attached to our body from past lives. Is that true? And if it is, how can we consciously get rid of those?
Yes, it's true. They can travel, and a lot of them can be relatives that you went to their funeral, and, some cultures, you kiss the corpse or you touch the corpse in some way. And sometimes the consciousness of that deceased loved one can jump into a body part of an individual. Like it can jump into your leg. And because they're afraid of death, they don't know, they're just kind of responding from panic. They'll stay right there in that calf muscle. They'll just stay right there. But the calf muscle may not like that. Okay, and so the calf muscle may start twitching, or you may start developing problems that way, and so that can indeed occur. And that level of consciousness, because it is trying to escape death. They can kind of come with you into the next life. Another kind of entity that can do that are what I call flesh divers, divers. These flesh divers, they will literally jump into your arm or jump into your leg, and these folks will basically float all over your energetic anatomy. And it's almost like they're floating on the bloodstream, you might say. And those can also last for a while. Now, how do you get rid of them? Dr. Baldwin, Baldwin, was a dentist, but he also became very, very interested in hypnotherapy, and he wrote some very interesting essays on anti-entity techniques. So if you look up Dr. Baldwin, and so you go the word Dr. Baldwin and spiritual. If you Google that, you'll probably come into his work. It's been years since I've read about that, but this is what Kundalini just popped into my head with. And the other one is, he's an anthropologist, and he travels down to South America, and he's actually a few thousand feet higher than we were when we went to Peru, and there is a tribe that they use certain crystals, clear quartz crystals about 4 inches long, with no what do they call that in a crystal when it's not completely clear? No.
Cloudy?
Huh? What?
Cloudy? No? Cloudy?
Oh, no, not the cloudiness.
What?
The imperfections that can occur within a crystal. Like you might see a crack in there. You might see something like that. And it needs to be about a 4-inch long, double terminated, clear quartz crystal. And I spoke to the guy. I went down and met him in San Francisco, and I showed him the crystal that I was interested in using. And he said, yeah, that would work just fine. And so what you do is you would then talk to the entity and let them know that, you know, they're hurting themselves, and they're hurting the person that they're with. And if it's not a malevolent entity, you can talk to them. If it's a relative, that type of a thing. And then they jump into the crystal, the quartz crystal, and then the quartz crystal is then heated over an alcohol flame, and that allows the entity to go into the next level. If it's a malevolent entity, well, you're going to have a hard time getting it into that crystal. Sometimes you can do it by force. Otherwise, you'll have to go into a shamanic type of a ritual, and then the shamans will be able to chase that entity around. And you know, I don't know if I mentioned this here before, but I had an entity earlier on in my physical system, and it would move. I went to a shaman in Maine, which is probably not the best place to seek out a shaman, but I happened to be in Maine, and I happened to come in contact with this shaman, and she agreed, and I said, okay, let's see if you can take it out. So I laid down on the massage table, and she was afraid to go to the genitals, which is where, I mean, every time she'd shake the rattle and blow the tobacco smoke, that entity would go straight to the genitals, knowing that she was afraid to go there. And I knew that too. And I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to work. And so you need to trust a shaman, number one, because the entities will go straight to the areas of cultural taboo. They will go straight there knowing that taboo exists and that they can find respite within that taboo. So if it's a vagina or a penis or testicles or anything like that, ovaries, the entity is going to end up there, and that shaman has to be either powerful enough to get through the clothing or to be trustworthy enough so that you can have those parts of the body exposed, and that you can therefore have that removed. A lot of them will use spitting, and they'll they'll bring the entity into their mouth and they'll spit it out into a bowl, and that type of thing occurs quite often. You can also do a series of ayahuasca ceremonies that will allow that type of a clearing to occur. Typically not in Western society are you going to find any kind of a practitioner that is going to be able to remove entities. And then from a Kundalini perspective, does the Kundalini want you to remove that entity? Are you not learning something from the presence of that entity within yourself? And that's a question that you definitely want to take up with your Kundalini, because some Kundalini equations require that you have entities, because the entities force you to do the work that you would not otherwise do. Because basically, people in Western society are lazy. Not speaking for everybody, not speaking in an absolutist quality, but people often within the Western technological societies, Europe, United States, Australia, parts of South America, Canada, parts of Africa, they are not willing to do the work. They just want to kind of sit back and take a pill and hope that the entity goes away. Well, in this context, you're going to have to do a bit more than that, and so there's that to consider. The Kundalini may want you to keep that entity so that you can continue to do the work that entity is forcing you to do by making you irritable or causing you fear or causing you pain or causing you this type of a thing. The Kundalini wants you to do that self-correction and that crucible of reversal. And when you do the self-correction through the crucible of reversal, that entity itself will remove itself, because you're souring the milk. You're not giving it the nourishment that it's seeking by you having, say, a very, very, very strong, fearful response to its presence. Well, if you're no longer afraid, you've taken away some of that dinner. And so you want to look at that aspect as well. Sometimes we don't want to get rid of an entity. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. How do you think different sources work together in this universe, even though it's a single source, especially from a syncretic point of view? For example, we receive many messages from many sources, such as Christ, Guan, Yin, Angel, Shakti, Shiva. They all exist. Do they talk through their energy? I've lost it. Okay, can we just answer, how do you think different sources work together in this universe, even though it's a single source?
Well, it's the one that is two and the two that are one. So tell me, is there a single source to one that is two and two that is one?
Yes.
Which one is it?
I know. Yeah.
You see, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, person's making assumptions about how this multiverse is set up, and they're making an assumption based upon a very, very extremely limited understanding of the universe as it sits. I mean, they're making the case that all these creatures exist, and yet, why is that necessarily so? And if you look at an eye, an eyeball, it's a single organ, right? Can I hear an amen?
Yes, amen.
And yet it is comprised of billions of cells. So which is the single source? Is it the eye, or is it what the billions of cells coalescing to form the eye? Are they the single source, or is it the program they're following a single source? Which is it?
So can I just ask you this as well as part of the question? So it's saying, this person is asking, so are all these, we'll say, energies connected with each other to provide us guidance through visions, etc.? It's like there are lots of different layers in the universe and roles are decided for them. Is that how the universe works?
Did you say loans, like Loans?
Roles, R-O-L-E-S.
Roles, okay.
Roles, yeah.
The universe is set up, in my understanding of it, through my Kundalini, it's set up in degrees of refinement. So here on the earth level here, we're at a fairly unrefined zone. And so we're working towards a zone of refinement that allows us to come closer to the source within us. Now, you get back to the same question. Is the source within us the single source, or is the source within us part of a multitude of sources that allow us to think that we have a single source? It goes ad infinitum. Is it did the chicken or the egg come first? Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
You're not asking me that, are you?
I am.
You
indeed,
are.
because,
I don't know.
Because that's
yeah.
That's the same question this person is asking me.
Yeah.
The source is the two that are one and the one that is two. So the source is single and plural at the same time.
And the source therefore communicates through different. So the source communicates to a person in synchronicity and in dreams through different ways, such as the teachings of different people, such as what? I think what this person is wondering is. Go ahead.
Okay, so the teaching, there's a definite program of enlightenment that is transcultural, cross-cultural, and you can read it in different languages, through different religions, throughout the millennia. And so that program is definitely set up to bring people into levels of refinement that allow them to have enlightenment, that allow them to merge into the two that are one and the one that is two, the single plural source, right? And so Gautama, otherwise known as Buddha, Kuan Yin, Jesus, Mohammed, Zoroastria, Mother Earth, Father Sky, all the different attributes of divinity that we partake of as the human species, if they're teaching things such as forgiveness, if they're teaching things such as self-care, as Laranya through Elizabeth mentioned, if they're teaching things that allow a person to go into refinement opportunities successfully, then they are indeed teaching us to increase our level of spiritual functioning to such a degree that we may not have to come back to the earth life again. Or if we do come back to the earth life, we're coming back into a position of greater ethical and moral expression, greater levels of love, greater levels of service, greater levels of aptitude, greater levels of intelligence, whether the intelligence is of an emotional or mental level. It can be both. And this is how we are constantly being given the opportunity to dig ourselves out of density. And as you know, the cream always rises to the top, right? And so this gives a person an opportunity to become the cream that is rising to the top. These teachings that these various teachers are offering. And this should give a person information on the vector and the approach that the divine has set up for people that have been trapped inside of materiality. And the vector and the design here is, levels of forgiveness, levels of tolerance, levels of the appreciation of life, levels of understanding that the divine is within us all the time, waiting for itself to be activated through the appropriate levels of refinement opportunities the person has partaken of in their lives upon this world and upon this level of density. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's as far as I'm going to go with it.
It does.
Sorry.
Thank you. The question was a bit scattered as well, the way I read it. I beg your pardon. A person wants to ask you if you would please devote one session on the Tree of Life and another on ancient symbols and their meanings.
One session?
I think they mean one program. They probably mean one program. Would you talk about Tree of Life on a program?
Well, I would let Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez talk about the Tree of Life. She's far more knowledgeable about that than I am. I never really, I didn't go to a group to have Kundalini. I didn't go to an ashram. I didn't use the Tree of Life. I didn't even really use sacred symbols. It just started happening to me. So I didn't really have to go into these areas. But there are, the Tree of Life is a very, very, very profound opportunity for people to begin to discover the inner areas of refinement opportunities. And the Tree of Life, and let me go ahead and bring Elizabeth on here right now. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
What's your experience with the Tree of Life or Kabbalah?
Well, gosh, it's been a while, but it, like you said, it definitely takes you through. You're going through different levels of refinement, starting in Malkuth, which is the earth, and within Malkuth there are 4 different segments that you're moving through. Then you're moving into Hod, which is mental, then emotional, in Netstock, then, so each of the different levels on the Tree of Life are leading you into psychological, mental, emotional, physical, and you start with the physical. You start in the earth. And also the Tree of Life, there are actually 4 of them that connect in tether. And people think, you go up the Sephirah to Kether, and that's it, you're enlightened. No, you then move on to a second Tree of Life, and then a third, and then a fourth, because they exist in the different planes of existence. So, in other words, the first Tree of Life that you go through, you're really going through that whole tree in the physical plane. Then you're moving into, you're moving into the next level like that. Most people spend a lifetime on just one tree, or they'll get to like a certain level of the psychological or the astrological or the whatnot, and they stay there. They can't get past that certain point. And so they'll spend a whole lifetime on that certain aspect, if you will. And once you get, depending on which Tree of Life, because there's also there's the Kirker Tree of Life, and then there's an earlier Gra Tree of Life, the difference being that the sun, Tiferet, in the Kirker tree is lower on the middle pillar, and that would be the spinal cord, because you can also lay the Tree of Life on the human body, the middle pillar being the spine. And Tiferet, the sun, is located lower in the Kirker tree. In the Gra tree, it's elevated. And so what happens is, in one tree, which is that most people study, when you get to a certain point between the middle pillar and Binah, which is the Divine Mother, the third Sephirah, you have to cross through an abyss. You have to go through the void. And a lot of people get caught up there because there is no path. You have to make that path, in other words.
Well, now you made your path. You made your path,
yeah.
And you became like the head coconut, did you not?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the head coconut, but I definitely got to a point where I was no longer able to, my teachers weren't able to teach me. And so,
Did you pass them? Did you not pass them up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it just became, I was in a new kind of abyss, trying to figure out, and trying to explain to them that my Kundalini is activating was like I'm speaking a different language, I'm an alien or something. But at the same time, my Kundalini was showing me this place where we moved, and so I knew I was being led here, and I was having visions of pine trees of all things, and I had some family that lived up here in Washington State, and I came to visit for Christmas, and I was like, that's it. This is what I've been seeing in my vision, and then I started talking to my husband, and making the move to come up here. If I would have never come up here where the Kundalini led me, I would never have found this group. And so, it just keeps leading you. At that point, in other words, I left the instruction of Kabbalah, and I entered the instruction of my Kundalini.
Understood. Thank you, dear Elizabeth.
Sure.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, and
thank you, Elizabeth.
now as far as sacred symbols go, shape can have consciousness. Geometric formation can have consciousness. If you look at the flower of life, there's a level of consciousness in the flower of life, and so depending on how you're using sacred symbolism, and so, for instance, the swastika that the Germans took from the Hindu faith. Just a second. Just a second. Just a second here. Yes, you're okay. We have a barking wolf here, and gotta let them in. Come on, Nara. Come on, go. Come on, take a. The swastika, am I still being heard?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, good.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Wow. It was loud. Okay, the swastika, which the Germans took from the Hindu belief system, means energy in movement, moving energy. And that's what the swastika means. The swastika is actually a very, very, very positive sacred symbol, and I posted a picture on the Kundalini Awakening ! Group a while back of a sacred stone that had a bunch of symbolism on it, and the swastika was very, very, very pronounced there. And that was a Hindu sacred stone, and so sacred symbolism can be very, very, very provocative because shape can have consciousness. And that's a very, very, very hard concept for a lot of people to get their head around. But, yeah, shape has consciousness. Geometric form has consciousness. Circles, squares, rectangles, pyramids, you name it. There's a certain level of interaction that the Kundalini can take a person to where these shapes and the consciousness behind these shapes exist. And I think Pythagoras actually visited there. I think Pythagoras was a Kundalini active individual, and the Kundalini took him to, shall we call it, the geometric civilization, and he learned he learned there, his the different levels of arithmetic that he was responsible for. Pythagoras, very, very active Kundalini man, from the. I'm not sure if he was there at the time of Christ. I'm not getting a real timeline with him, but he was definitely a Kundalini active person. And sacred symbolism is very, very, very important. Let's just look at the Vesica Pisces. Vesica, V is in Victor, E-S-I-C-A, and then P-I-S-C-E-S. Vesica Pisces means the intersection between two circles, and this is what happens with the Kundalini. The physical circle intersects with the divine circle and forms that oval opening that allows a person to become semi-divine, which kind of correlates with what I was talking about earlier. Sacred symbolism is very, very, very important, and it has meanings that go far beyond what words can express. Over.
Do you remember the swastika on Queen Maeve's tomb? That was a very ancient stone, and it had a swastika shape in it. Do you remember?
I do. That means that was running energy and movement. That was at Queen Maeve's throne in County Kildare?
County Meath, I think.
Meath.
It was in the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah. And that's
that
also...
It was a good example of what you're saying about shape having consciousness, or we could feel that movement. At least I could feel that.
Well, you could. The
amazing.
nice thing is you could sit on that symbol, and where you're sitting on that symbol is where your Kundalini is being dormantly housed. How interesting is that? So you could meditate, and there might be some people who will want to meditate on a swastika, but don't use the Nazi swastika. Use another kind of swastika. They have swastikas that have little dots, that have 4 dots between the legs that are running around, and that one's used quite often. But the sacred symbol can be very, very powerful. Exactly. Over.
Okay, next question. I am telepathic, and this is causing me a lot of distress. It is almost impossible now to be with people. What can I do about this?
Ask your Kundalini to give you filtration if you have Kundalini. I'm not buying the full telepathic thing, although I know that exists. It doesn't. I'm not getting truth behind that. Are you, Amelia? Do you get truth behind that?
Well, can I say a little bit about telepathy? Like, sometimes I think when a person is telepathic or they're getting some telepathy, I think this is it sounds like empath, is what they're talking about. I am an empath. It feels that way to me. And that's why they cannot be with people as well. I just getting that too. And I just feel sometimes that is, I don't know, Chrism. I think it's, I'm not getting a lot of truth in it.
I'm not getting a lot of truth in it either. And I think that sometimes people just like to make the announcement, I'm telepathic. Oh, gosh, I have so many. Oh, my gosh, the problem is I can't go into a mall. It's so strong. My telepathy is so strong, and I'm so special because I have it.
Yeah.
That type of a thing. You know what I mean? So typically,
and it's not that people aren't telepathic or aren't. Sorry.
I have telepathy.
Go ahead.
I have telepathy.
Sorry.
That's easy enough. The telepathy is not a hard thing. You have to have filtration. You have to be able to filter out thoughts that don't belong to your inner conversation. Telepathy is no great I mean, it is an exalted gift, so that it has greatness in and of itself. But it isn't an impossible gift, and it doesn't cause people to be, I just can't be around people. You need to, if the Kundalini hasn't given you the telepathy, then I don't think you have it. Unless you're a twin. I think the twins.
Stop.
The twins have.
Oh, a twin, yeah, I understand. I thought you were going to start talking about the twin flames there for a minute.
Oh, God, no. Don't even go there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were being, funny. I thought you were, and we won't.
No.
Filtration, Chrism, can you speak a little bit about that? I mean, is that something that you can consciously do? Can you consciously have filtration?
Oh, let me think here. I've always had filtration. I mean, of course, this isn't my first time having Kundalini either, so I think that, your level of focus, the level of focus that you give to the communication that you're having. If you're doing narrowband telepathy, it's very easy to have filtration. If you're doing broadband telepathy, which is basically opening yourself to try to pick up anything, you'll have no filtration. And for people that are trying to have telepathy, it's typically going to be broadband. And they're going to, and if they have incurred that gift upon themselves through storming the gates of heaven, if they have incurred that gift upon themselves, then they may not be able to initiate filtration for themselves. But if you're in a broad spectrum and you haven't, been like trying to force your third eye open or force telepathy to occur, then you can give yourself filtration by simply focusing on the conversation at hand. In many ways, if you force telepathy to occur or you force yourself to have specific gifts, you take out of your ability the natural functions that would normally occur if it was activated through your Kundalini or through divine intercession. Through divine intercession, through Kundalini, same thing in my opinion. Definitely filtration can occur. Filtration means that you're picking up, the one conversation or the one conversation which can be among multiple people, but it doesn't have to be just one-on-one. Filtration can be given by the fact that you focus on who you're speaking with, and you just focus on that, and naturally a filter will kick in. If you storm the gates of heaven and you have it's always kind of a broadband situation, well, you're just going to suffer. You're just going to suffer. If you have broadband where you haven't been forcing it to come or forcing the telepathy, well, then your level of severe focus can be very, very helpful with creating filtration for you. Kundalini gave me filtration without really having to try to do anything. I was just able to do that, a natural component. Not everybody can do that, but it's really in the hands of the divine and the karma that you have that gives you the ability to have telepathy at all. And so, if you have natural telepathy, then you also have natural filtration. You just have to be willing to go into that level of focus. It might be called absorptive focus. Absorptive focus. Go ahead.
What's it? Say that word again, Chrism.
Absorptive. ABS.
Absorptive. Yes.
ORPTIVE. Absorptive focus. It means you're absorbed by it.
Okay.
Next question.
And also, I think sometimes ego takes control or tries to, run with that, and that makes a difference because that blocks the filtration or that doesn't allow it. Oh, my thing
Agreed.
is doing something funny here. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll move on to the next question, Chrism. This is from the group, and somebody said, I feel like I've lost my way. I'm lonely and feel further away from the union of bliss. Where should I start over? Help me.
The safeties. Do the safety protocols. That will start you over. That will help this person in ways more than they realized.
Mm-hmm.
The safeties.
Okay.
Next question.
Thank you, Chrism. What does a spiritually awakened individual do in a system that is nearly entirely opposite to the Kundalini's natural function on DNA?
What? DNA?
For instance, how would one judge where to go next, or would it be wise to make plans for the future? Everyone is different, so for those of us who are highly sensitive persons, how would we allow the process to best flourish?
Surrender to the Kundalini.
Yeah,
that's the best way.
Okay.
Surrender to the Kundalini. Don't try to control your DNA. Don't try to make yourself really, really special and say, "Oh, I'm so sensitive," and then try to, find a way to manipulate yourself within society to support your sensitivity. No. Surrender to the Kundalini. Let the Kundalini begin to mitigate your life circumstances that will either make it available for you to not suffer irritation due to other people's DNA not doing what you think yours may be doing, but just allow the Kundalini to do the work with you and ask it, in this case, to do this for you. But also be open to it and get your ego out of that equation. That question is loaded with ego. Loaded with ego as far as being so sensitive and don't live in a mall. Get a job or a position or something that takes you out into nature. I know that hypersensitivity can occur with the Kundalini as well. I've had that, for years and years. But once again, even with the telepathy, you build filtration. You build the ability to withstand and to embrace the unawakened as well as the awakening consciousness that are around you. Let's be clear. We are on this world. We're not on this world so that we can be so sensitive that we have to move off this world. We're on this world to increase our sensitivity, but also to decrease the level of irritation that the ego allows itself to suffer. Okay, it is not something that you must do here. The one thing that you really must do is get the ego out of the control seat. Take the ego out of the position of authority within your life, and then after you do that, if you're still having a problem with the mundane population, well, then move into nature. I don't see how an ultra-sensitive person is going to be able to psychically excuse themselves from this world, even if you do move into nature. People's thoughts.
Okay, well, Chrism, I hate to interrupt you because it's good. We've just got 50 seconds left.
Say goodbye.
Yeah, 50 seconds. Goodbye, everybody. Let you arm us out, Chrism, please.
I will arm us out. Thank you, Alana Seeker, the various guests, Mary Jean, Vincent, C.L. Morgan, Thank you for joining us, Elizabeth and Joey and Rosemary and Brooke, and really appreciate the patience for those of you that are in the, listening in the archives. This was a blog talk kind of a problem that we've had earlier. Once again, I'm talking on my cell phone, so I'll go ahead and almost out now.